Hello, welcome back to the channel. It is Dan, Dr. Knives, and I've got a sharpening video today. Got this knife, the Benchmade Redoubt. This one is wearing some awesome Applied Weapons Tech scales that I absolutely love. Really makes this knife so good. Just makes it a wonderful knife. You can go and watch my video where I put these scales on the knife. It's really easy to do. Maybe that video will help you out a bit if you have the same knife and got these same scales. Anyway, I'm going to put a new edge on it because this edge has seen a bit of use and it is time for a new one. And the factory edge was okay, but in typical Benchmade fashion, it was very coarse and I'm sure it was quite burnt. So looking forward to taking some steel off, putting a new edge on this and seeing what it can do. As always, to start here, I'm going to cut off the apex. So especially since this is a factory edge, I want to get rid of any of that burnt steel that was on here, and Benchmade being especially notorious for that. I want to just take a little bit extra off, that'll do it. And now I have my trusty Venev resin bonded diamond stones here. This one is the F240. That's what I'm going to start on. This is something equivalent to like 500 grit, but it cuts pretty fast since it's diamond. And this edge doesn't really need much reprofiling. It's actually pretty even. All I want to do is get a new bevel established, and that's it. Should be easy. See where I'm removing metal here, and it looks like I'm coming in just a little bit high of the factory bevel. So I'll bring it down a little bit. And I wouldn't mind dropping this edge down a few degrees. It's probably around 18 per side. Maybe take it down to 17, 16, something like that. See, there we go. Now we've got a new bevel, looking pretty clean here. And I'm already feeling some burr, so that's great. The Redoubt is a really, really good knife and honestly pretty underrated. I feel like it doesn't get talked about very much, and that might be because the stock's plastic scales are kind of garbage. I don't like them at all. They're way too rough and they don't feel nice. They don't look very nice. So with some aftermarket scales, this knife really does transform a lot. See up at the belly and tip, getting through there really nicely. Yep, got a pretty nice looking new bevel. Not quite burred, but it's getting close. By the way, on my stone, I'm using this Stroppy Stuff honing oil, which I have found does prevent load up better than water and soap. The only downside is it's a little messy because it is oil. But if you can deal with that, their performance is better than water. Okay, now on the other side, hitting that angle pretty well. I'm making sure to focus a little bit extra right here at the heel, because that's a part of the blade that usually gets the least amount of stone contact, so you really want to put a little extra pressure in there on your strokes. There we go, already got a burr. Awesome. So yeah, the Redoubt is a great knife. The whole design, like the general lines and ergos are really, really good. Even with the stock handle, I just don't like how sharp and rough it is. Like, it's covered with these pretty aggressive studs that I'm sure with gloves are great, but if you're not wearing gloves most of the time that you use the knife, you'll probably find it annoying, at least if you're anything like me with your preferences. So I got burr back here. I need more work in the belly and at the tip. But the blade on the Redoubt is really, really nice. It's pretty thinly ground, but still robust enough that it can really put in some work. And it's a great general use utility shape just with the drop point. It's going to be good for just about anything. See this nice neutral shape, really good, and then pretty thinly ground, surprisingly thinly ground, actually. It's like, I don't know, 15, 16 thousandths beyond the edge. Pretty good, pretty good. I need a little bit more work through the belly and at the tip, but we're almost there. All right, now I've got a burr through the belly. Excellent. Now I need a little bit more work at the tip. And now what I'm gonna check is that the grind on the tip is nice and even from side to side. And it looks like I need to remove a little bit more from this side. So instead of apexing it totally on this side at the tip, I'm gonna go to this side and bring that edge over because it's slightly off center as it is. Hopefully that made sense. If that didn't make sense, go down, leave it a comment. Maybe I can explain it differently, what I'm doing here. So I remove a little bit more material from this side and feeling a burr at the tip. And now, if I can get it to focus on the tip, that's a lot better. It's almost perfectly even. Couple more strokes on this side. And that should be perfectly even. Feeling good burr, okay. It's fully apexed. Yep, there we go. Now the tip is just about perfectly even. Great. And now I'm gonna move on. So I've got the entire edge apexed, and that was the Venev F240. Now I'm gonna move up to the F400. These are wet because I just conditioned them with a Nagura. I like to do that under running water. I find that works best. Now oil that up. Coffee break. Now the burr is on this side, so that's where I'm going to start. And now the process of grit refinement comes in. My only goal with this stone is to remove all the scratches from the previous stone. That's it. So I'm apexed. I have the bevel created and set. I have created a single apex at which each side of the edge bevel meets. So each side is meeting at a point right here. Previously, it looked like this. It was flat, so now I've ground away material, and now they meet at a single point like this. And now all I need to do is remove the scratches from the previous stone because I have created the apex. I'm using a little bit lighter pressure on this stone than I was on the previous one. And you'll notice I move my fingers around up the blade, and especially when I'm in this belly section, you want to roll around the belly with your strokes like this, and I'm lifting up my left elbow like that. That's how I'm adjusting for the belly. And just move your fingers around, get to the tip. I like to put my middle finger right there on the tip like this. Right there on the tip. And that helps me feel it. So actually when I get to the tip, my middle finger just barely brushes the stone. And that's how I can kind of feel the tip is on the stone and feel where it's contacting. Looking pretty good. There's a little bit of a weird area up at the tip. I don't know if you can see that. My angle coming in just slightly low. So I'm gonna come back in there, make sure I'm raising my elbow up sufficiently, and just concentrate a little bit more on that section. And there it is. Now it's nice and clean. Perfect. Yep. And one sign that you're reaching the apex and have removed all the scratches there, this is just a sign, it's not a guarantee that you've removed all the scratches at the apex, is that you'll form a slight burr. So it's not bad at this stage to form a burr. It can actually be a helpful sign that, okay, I've removed enough material that I have actually hit the apex. I've removed enough material to form a burr on the other side. That's a good sign that you have removed all the previous scratches, and it's a guarantee that you are hitting the apex at least sometimes on your strokes. And that's good, because if you were to remove all the scratches just from the bevel and you are missing the apex could still be coarse. It could still be that F240 grit, while the rest of your bevel looks nice at this F400, but really at the cutting edge, you still have those coarse scratches. If you're going up in grit, you want to make sure you're getting that entire bevel all the way down to the apex, removing all the scratches. Walking my fingers up the blade, working around the belly. It's good to take strokes that wrap around the belly instead of just pushing in one tiny spot and then working your way up, like staying here and then adjusting and then adjusting. It's better to hit that in one slightly more fluid motion, because that prevents uneven material removal from your bevel, which would be easy to do if you were doing those small little steps up the blade. You do want to take steps up the blade. It makes the sharpening process and motion a lot easier, but make them of some reasonable size. You don't just want to cover like 1/8 of an inch with each one. Maybe go for like 1 inch to sometimes 1/2 inch around the bellies. Just depends. Okay, now this bevel is looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Now what I'm gonna look for is to make sure everything is even. So I can see here at the heel, this side at the heel, slightly narrow. This side of the heel, slightly wide. And in the belly, this side is slightly narrow. At the tip, this side is slightly narrow. So I'm gonna remove just a little bit more material across most of the edge on this side. So that's kind of a counterintuitive thing. If you're running into bevel with inconsistencies, you want to remove more material from the side that is narrower, because if your angles are the same from side to side, the cause of an uneven bevel width is you have removed an uneven amount of material from each side. So imagine you have a perfectly even apex like this. If you were to remove more material from the right side, you're going to push that over and push, it's kind of hard to show, you're going to push the apex like this. So now the apex is going to be off center, which makes this side of the bevel shorter. See how that side has to come down for this, the left side has to come down and get shorter for the right side to move over. So the edge has drifted off center. Now if I remove more material from this side, I'm going to push the center line back, because this right side now has to get shorter as the left side gets longer. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense. I hope it does. Kind of difficult to explain. I should get out some paper and draw a diagram of that at some point. Okay, the tip is almost perfect. And the heel is getting there. I need a little bit more material from both of those spots. There it is, perfect. Tip is looking really good. Heel is just about perfect. I'll take it. Now, I'm done with this stone. And in a rare move, I'm going to move up to my F800 stone. This is the equivalent of 2,000 to 3,000 grit in a normal stone. Coffee break. I don't usually go up this high for my personal knives because I usually like a slightly more coarser edge, and I don't like to take the time usually. But I have been feeling the slightly more polished edges recently. This isn't going to create a full mirror, but it gets you pretty close to that while still retaining some bite and some edge aggression. And it's a very easy step. It's like a low stress polish because you don't need to obsess over getting all those larger scratches out. It doesn't really matter that much. If there are a few scratches remaining, if you don't care about a perfect mirror polish, that's just fine. And there are a few deeper scratches left on your bevel, whatever. I don't obsess over that on my own knives. And if you're just at home sharpening your own stuff and you want a good sharp edge that looks decent, it's not that important. So again, my goal here is just remove all the previous scratches. That's all I'm doing with this stone. Oh yeah, it's already coming along really, really nice. This is such a nice stone. Yeah, that edge looks great. I'm almost there already. A little more at the tip. And move to the other side. I should make a video on my Applied Weapons Tech collection because I have so many of their scales now on so many different knives. My only two Benchmades I currently own, I have this Redoubt and I have a Bug Out. Both of them have Applied Weapons Tech scales, and then every Spyderco, almost every Spyderco that I can put Applied Weapons Tech scales on, I have. Like, I have a Paramilitary 2 and Native 5 with AWT scales. What else? I have a Para 3 in Maximet with AWT scales. They're all so good. All awesome. This edge looks really good. Looks so nice. Okay, I'm happy with where we are on that. Now, I'm going to take just a few light strokes to start flipping that burr back and forth. I'm interested to see how this CPM D2 deburrs, because I've heard everyone says, oh, CPM D2 is the shit. It's like so much better than regular D2, and I don't know, based on this factory edge, I really can't tell too much. So I've got the burr, I had it on this side, flipped back here, flipped it back. Should be a little bit centered now, so what I'm gonna do is joint the edge and just cut off that burr and the very, very tippy top of the apex. Okay, and now I can go back and gently, very gently, reestablish the apex, trying to create the smallest burr I possibly can. Or ideally no burr at all, but that's virtually impossible on a stone. Because as soon as you hit that apex, you're almost guaranteed to be creating some burr at some microscopic level. So I did a few very light back and forth strokes. Now I'm going to do a few edge leading strokes. This is to both reestablish that apex and in any spots I may have accidentally formed a tiny burr. This is going to help knock the burr off. Edge leading strokes are best. They're slightly better at knocking a burr off than edge trailing strokes. And this is edge leading. This is edge trailing, where the edge trails the motion and the edge leads the motion. Hopefully that makes sense. I want to make sure I'm getting that full edge length here. All right, gonna wipe it off, and I want to take a feel of that, see if I can feel anything with my fingers. I don't feel a burr with my fingers. The apex feels pretty sharp. I'm gonna use a flashlight to check for a burr. So I am seeing some remnants of burr. Well, I said that, but actually it looks really clean on this side. Okay, there's the burr. There, I think you can see it on video. Right here. Do you see a very little shine right at the apex? Maybe you can't see it. Here, you can also see it at the belly. It's this very little shine right at the apex. You don't see it up here. You do see it right here. Hopefully that comes through on video. Very hard to capture. But there is a very slight burr right here. There it is. I can actually feel it with my finger. So I'm going to take 2 strokes on this side, go all the way through the belly, and then 1 on this side. And on these, I'm going to raise my angle ever so slightly, like a 1/2 degree or less. This is a very small difference between the angle I was using. And that should do it. I can take 1 more on this side. All right. Now recheck with the flashlight, and I've got the burr gone down here in the flat section. Still here in the belly section. So that means I'm gonna take just a few extra strokes there. Okay, burr's gone there. It has flipped very slightly to the other side. And I'm just gonna take a few back and forth, very light strokes through that belly section where the burr is, flip it back and forth, get that broken off. That should do it. Feels clean, looks clean. Okay, deburred there. Now, I'm gonna take some very light pressure edge trailing strokes just to refine the apex. There's edge leading. They're great for deburring. they have a tendency to slightly crunch your apex because you have your apex running into any swarf, any slurry that's on your stone. And what's on your stone is a mixture of abrasive from the stone and binder, and then of course metal from the knife that you're sharpening. So as you can imagine, the apex running into all that stuff isn't great for it. So you just want to do some of these edge trailing strokes right at the end. Very light pressure, one each side, and if your pressure's light and if you're nice and consistent, just do one per side. You don't really have to worry about forming a burr because any tiny burr that forms will be compensated for on the other side. And oh, it feels really, really sharp. You want to do that until you feel your sharpness come up. And when you train with your fingers trained, you can just kind of tap the edge and barely, like you're trying to drag it across your finger just slightly, and you can feel that apex grab really, really good. Double check. Not seeing any burr. Not seeing any burr. This flashlight trick is really good. You just shine from the back, so it's going here across the face of your blade like this, hitting the bevel, and then right at the apex. If there is a burr, you'll see a light reflect. You can see out here at the apex, no light reflecting, no burr. And be careful, sometimes if there's lint and stuff on your edge, it will reflect and look like a burr, so just give it a wipe with your finger and then double check if you see something that looks like a burr and you don't expect it to be there. I learned that trick from Max of Stroppy Stuff. Good guy. He's got a great YouTube channel. I'll go and tag him in the description because he's got a lot of really good content out there. Now some rubbing alcohol. Gonna clean off this blade, get any slurry and shit from the stone off of here. And then here, we'll go ahead and test the edge, see what we're looking at. Yep, so it's really, really sharp. Very sharp already. It feels so nice. It feels so good. Let's see. Wow, it's absolutely popping hairs. That honestly can barely get better. That's really, really top of the line already. I have this strop. This is Stroppy Stuff 1/2 micron right here that I've been testing. I got it in the small size just to test it out. And it's really, really good stuff. This is the kind of stuff that will take your mirror polishes to the next level and will really, really boost an edge's sharpness and kind of kick it over into that hair whittling territory, if that's what you're going for. And it's a great way to finish just about any edge, coarse or fine. It doesn't really matter if you're using it as a finishing tool, just to get any remnants of micro burr off of here and just get that last little bit of sharpness. It's going to be really, really good for whatever kind of edge you're doing, because even on a coarse edge, it will still pull off any micro burr there. And I realize, yes, it's a very fine grit, and if you're going from a coarse edge, I know it will pull off the burr though, and it won't abrade off the teeth and the grit very quickly from that edge. This feels ridiculously sharp. Yeah, it's just effortless through here. Really, really nice. Yeah, push cutting with ease. Super nice. Absolutely popping hairs. Just like exploding. And you can tell it's sharp. You run it the other way against your hairs and you can feel it grabbing hairs. it wants to treetop these hairs. I think it did treetop a couple of them. Just when you can feel it grabbing them, that's a really good sign. See if it wants to whittle. Yep, we are whittling hairs really easily. It just whittled and then cut right through it. That's really good. Yeah, brilliant edge here. Get a little zoom in on that. You can see it's not a mirror polish. There is some grit still left there. In the right light though, you do get some polish and some shine. There you go, like that. So nice looking edge, nice performing edge. And really, really easy to do. Kind of this a nice low stress edge. I can say this D2, the CPM D2 felt nice on the stone, felt reasonably hard. It apexed very easily for being a steel that I think is decently wear resistant from what I've seen. I still need to use it more. I've only used it on the factory edge, which I'm positive was burnt and looked absolutely just horrendously like coarse. It looked like they used a 220 belt that had been kicking around in the back of their shop for the last 5 years probably. Like it was just coarse and chattery and uneven. Not nice stuff. Anyway, so I need to see how it performs with a real edge. So this is gonna be fun to use. I'm looking forward to it. The deburring wasn't too bad. It was just that one section in the belly, and I really think it's more to do with me, and I was just kind of missing the edge through the belly, because once I really focused on that part more, I flipped it, and it was pretty much gone instantly. And the rest of the edge deburred with absolutely no trouble at all. So pretty positive impression. The knife, I really, really like this knife with the Applied Weapons Tech scales. It's fantastic. You can see it just melts in your hand. The ergonomics are amazing. The pinch grip here is so good with this wide scallop right here. So you do kind of start far away from the edge in your hammer grip or your saber grip, but you go up to a pinch grip and it's so easy to get right here. It feels really, really nice. And you could even choke up pretty well actually if you wanted to. Like this, you could get your choke up here. Great knife, I love it. And with these scales and everything torqued down and adjusted nicely, it just falls shut like this, and it has no blade play. It has nothing. There's nothing. Side to side, up and down, there's just the slightest bit of rock. I just think that's a feature of the Axis lock. Its relationship with the liners and the blade tank, there's ever so slight, but you have to really give it a wiggle. You give it a light wiggle, there's nothing, and side to side, there is just nothing. Absolutely nothing. Closed to centering is perfect. Yep, the centering is absolutely perfect, and it's really, really good with these scales. It's absolutely, the game has changed, and I know it's an expensive combo, no doubt. I've also got the lynch clip on here, which is, in my opinion, better than the stock clip. The stock clip doesn't have enough clearance, is my impression of it. Anyway, I know it's an expensive combo, the knife plus the Applied Weapons Tech scales, but it is 100% worth it in my opinion. And especially, I got this Redoubt on sale. It was like 25 or 30% off of regular retail price, so really good price on the knife. These are second scales. If you can get this combo of it, scales, the seconds AWT scales, their garage finds or whatever they call it, the boneyard, that's what they call it, and then get a Redoubt that's on sale for a really nice price. This makes a stunningly good knife. The full price Redoubt, I just can't recommend it at that price, but if you can find it cheaper on the secondary market or with a great sale, I would get it. And if you can spring for these AWT scales, it's a game changer for the knife. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. I certainly enjoyed sharpening this one. I hope you enjoyed coming along for the ride. And if you have any questions or anything, go drop a comment down below. I would love to discuss or talk about anything that you're curious about, or maybe you have some experiences with CPM-D2. I would love to hear about that. What are your thoughts on this one? Or the Redoubt in general? I'd love to hear it. With all that said, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.